Good morning, everybody. Just one more minute and we will get started. I'd love to know who you are and where you're from. I'm Andrea Leonard. I am currently in Colorado, USA, and president and founder of Cancer Exercise Training Institute. So let me know who you are. Give me a shout out in the chat box. And, if you're a cancer survivor, you're a health or fitness professional, I'd love to know what it is that you do and kind of what you're hoping to get out of this. It is 10 o'clock Colorado time, 12 o'clock Eastern time. So I am going to just jump right in and we will rock and roll. So you guys can reach out anytime. I'll try and do the best I can to navigate questions as I go through. I don't want to get too off track. All right, so let's talk about the market, if you will, to serve and grow survivorship. Now we're going to talk about both the cancer population as well as the aging population. I'm going to kind of put it together in a nice, neat little package here. But right now I'm referring specifically to cancer. Now, I myself am a 37-year cancer survivor and have had 23 first-degree relatives with some form of cancer or another. Lost my dad 6.5 years ago, and my mom currently has stage 4 breast cancer. So this has been my life for a long, long time. Thanks for saying hi, Rosemary, in Tennessee. And awesome, 28-year survivor. Excellent. I'm very sorry to hear about your brother. And hopefully we can talk beyond this webinar and I can learn more about you and give you some insight. But let's look at these hard statistics. I mean, we have just over 19 million cancer cases in the world in 2020. So these statistics were just released by Globocan in February. And also we had about 50 million cancer survivors. So that means people who have basically lived 5 years after their cancer diagnosis, they get put into that survivor category. And even that, there are kind of different terms for whether you're currently going through treatment, whether you're a recent survivor or a long-term survivor. So knock on wood, Rosemary, you and I have some good decades behind us into survivorship. But what we're looking at here is that in the next 20 years, the global burden is expected to go to over 30 million new cancer cases. And that is just staggering. So, the numbers are not really going down. Cancer is with us to stay, at least imminently. Obviously, we're all hoping for a cure one of these days, but nonetheless, what we're seeing is an increase in survivorship. Hey, Yolanda in Florida. And Yolanda's already going through our cancer exercise specialist program. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, this specific slide is just US, but nonetheless, I have no doubt that this will carry over throughout the world, and that really for the first time, we've seen a drop, and 2.2% doesn't sound like a huge amount, but when you're talking about such staggering numbers, it absolutely is a step in the right direction. Again, referring to the US, and I honestly tried to look, I Googled to try and find, worldwide numbers, but we're all affected by this. So I think it's safe to say that probably a new cancer is diagnosed anywhere in the world every 30 seconds. But I know for a fact that it is so in the United States. The crazy part is that despite the evidence, behavior still remains the same. And I think, I think it's kind of like when you're younger in your 20s or whatever, and some of you may be, but I think you think you're invincible. I'm never going to get sick. I'm going to lay in the sun and fry myself. And back for me, it was in the 80s with baby oil and, laying on a roof. And you think, oh, if I get skin cancer, I'll just have it cut out. And I met 2 people in the last week that had stage 4 melanoma. So it was just kind of a real eye opener, even though I don't really go out too much in the sun anymore. So the sun is one thing, smoking, drinking, even down to the food we buy, because so much of it is, genetically modified, covered in pesticides. And a lot of people don't have the option to buy really healthy food, and others just choose to spend their money elsewhere. The money that somebody's spending on cigarettes and alcohol could certainly go to buying organic food. Now, we know for a fact, and there are so many studies to support this, that exercise is important for cancer prevention, and specifically lowering the risk for these cancers: colon, stomach, esophageal, bladder, kidney, colorectal, and breast. But obviously, we know that exercise can help to prevent just a battery of comorbidities. And getting people to move and to eat right is key. So this offers an opportunity. If you guys have, and this is another thing, once again, write it in the chat box if you have any questions. Starting Facebook groups, it's a great way to create a platform where you can become that person that people know, like, and trust, and start to instill this information. Don't look to get anything out of it. It's just about building this community. But this is where you get to start being the local subject matter expert. And start to get that exposure. And at the same time, you're helping people to learn, you're educating them. You can have 10 different Facebook groups if you want to, break it down into different audiences. As far as I know, I don't think there's a limit. Now, the other thing about exercise when we talk about cancer is that it can reduce treatment symptoms. So this is when we're talking about anybody who is actually going through cancer treatment. It's going to help improve treatment tolerance. So what does that mean? Someone's ability to withstand the side effects of cancer treatment. And we've all seen the movies and TV shows, where somebody's puking in the toilet and they have no energy and their hair is falling out and so on and so forth. And that's all very real. But there are so many more side effects, both acute, right here and now, and chronic. And so the average fitness professional, although well-meaning, may be doing more harm than good when working with cancer patients or survivors. And I have people reach out to me all the time saying, hey, I'm working with, Susie Q, and she's got breast cancer. She just had a mastectomy, or John just had a prostatectomy, or whatever the case is. And they want me to give them advice. And my advice is take a course on cancer exercise, because it's way too comprehensive. There are so many different components that it is truly like a mathematical equation, and you've got A plus B plus C plus D, and only then, when you've got all those components, can you put together a safe and effective exercise program for somebody who is in treatment or after recovery. And anything short of that, we run the risk of not just hurting them physically, but it could actually, in some cases, increase the risk of certain comorbidities like lymphedema. So lymphedema is the swelling of the part of the body where lymph nodes have been removed or irradiated. And it is oftentimes, I'm going to use the word completely, preventable. And certainly manageable. But if an exercise professional is having the client do the wrong exercises in the wrong combinations and doesn't understand lymphatic drainage, it can actually, one, bring on lymphedema, and two, make it worse. So that's just one example. It can help decrease nausea while increasing appetite, and many cancer patients suffer with what we call cancer cachexia. It looks like cachexia, and it's actually cancer anorexia, muscle wasting. And this can actually take away from the likelihood of survivorship. So this is critical to understand this and to know how to help people gain back healthy weight. And during cancer treatment, as a fitness professional, I know I need to refer to someone who specializes, a registered dietitian, nutritionist who's, works in an oncology department, perhaps in a hospital, someone who knows exactly what they're doing. Because even food recommendations if you make the wrong recommendation, could interfere with certain cancer treatments. Now, cancer fatigue is one of the most commonly reported side effects. And this is not just, oh, I'm tired, I got 5 hours of sleep, or I was up all night working, or whatever. This is, I cannot drag myself off of the chair, the bed, the sofa. I mean, literally just mind-boggling fatigue. And 76% of cancer patients are affected this way. So we know that exercise is going to, provide much needed energy, endorphins, and doing the right amount. Because if you have your client work at too high of an intensity for where they are at, notice I said they, every cancer patient is different. There is no cookie cutter workout. We have to take into consideration all of the specifics for that individual. So if you notice that your client is leaving the workout more fatigued, you've done too much. They should, at the very least, feel a little more invigorated than when they showed up for their exercise session. Of course, maintaining lean muscle mass is critical, which is also going to increase their basal metabolic rate and help them burn more fat. And that's one of the things about cancer cachexia is they're losing muscle, just like with anorexia. So they may appear very skinny fat, if you will, because they have a high percentage of body fat and they're losing lean muscle. Pain can be a side effect of the cancer treatment, the surgery itself, or even the cancer pressing on a nerve or a group of nerves. Sleep is often interrupted, could be from pain. It could be from steroids that people are on. So exercise can help people. Also, you have to kind of time it appropriately to get better sleep, have more energy, and then increase satisfaction with life. When you're diagnosed with cancer, your life changes forever. Could be better in some cases. In some cases it's an eye opener for people and they make better choices. They appreciate things more. They savor every day. But it's a definite wake-up call. And cancer can strip you of everything from your hair to your body parts, to your job, to your marriage, to your finances. So if we were to take a poll on people's satisfaction with life, oftentimes it's going to be very low. And exercise can help people take control of their lives and their bodies at a time that they feel maybe that they don't have any control. And all of that may lead to depression, understandably. The endorphins that we produce when we exercise can help naturally minimize depression. And then we've got recovery. So have any of you guys worked with cancer patients yourself? Kind of a rhetorical question, but feel free to share. I'd love to, get some feedback from you guys. Have you worked with somebody while they're going through cancer recovery? I have a torn rotator cuff right now, and this is about as high as I can lift my arm. And let me tell you, I have all new empathy for my mother, who has gone through 2 different mastectomies and breast reconstruction, and just the miserable, painful physical therapy and recovery from these procedures. And oftentimes with breast or head and neck cancers, we see limited shoulder range of motion. So, in this case, this is as high as I can raise my arm. Now, in different planes of motion, or with my palm up, or palm facing forward, I have almost full range of motion. But we need to be able to identify the different planes of motion and understand what is the cause of this limitation. And that's something I go through in our coursework, is how to take goniometric measurements. And whether you're working with seniors or cancer patients or athletes, this is critical. If you really want to put the personal in personal training, this is going to put you, leaps and bounds above your competition, because the majority of fitness professionals don't know how to do this. And this is what is really going to help you to customize a workout, and especially a postural assessment, because how can we just randomly put people through a workout when we don't understand muscle imbalances or range of motion limitations? Thanks for sharing that, Rosemary. So prevent and manage lymphedema. Like I said, the swelling of the extremity. I keep pointing to my arm. That's often the case with breast cancer, but it could be in the torso. It can be in the neck. It can be in the pelvis, in either of the legs. And it could be just a tiny bit of swelling, or it could actually be what we would call elephantiasis, and really just disfiguring, painful, debilitating. So many cancer patients are not even told about it, or perhaps they are, and in the midst of everything else they're going through, maybe it kind of falls on the back burner and they forget about it. But we can educate. This would be another great thing to talk about in your Facebook groups or on IG or whatever your platform is. Teach people about all of these different things and how exercise can help prevent or minimize it. So important, because they may not be getting that information from their medical team. Depends on where they're at in the country, in the world. Are they at a rural hospital, or are they at a big cancer center like Sloan Kettering, Mayo Clinic, MD Anderson, that type of thing? Already mentioned losing fat, and we also want to help people return to their activities of daily living and work. So work, obviously, because people need to make a living and they've got, medical bills racking up. But also, I don't know about you guys, but if I can't do the things I love to do, which I'm out in Colorado for the winter, and as this was supposed to be this epic winter of skiing, snowboarding, and I haven't been up on the mountain since mid-February. Now, I am not by any means comparing this to a cancer diagnosis. I'm simply saying that we all have the things that make us happy. And for whatever reason, when you are not able to do those, it's not uncommon to slip into depression. So if we can help people, if we can be that catalyst to help them take control of their lives again and get back to that, that is the biggest gift. And I've been a personal trainer since 1992, in the fitness industry since 1984. And, I used to work with all the healthy bodies, the young, beautiful bodies, whatever you want to call it. But there is nothing more rewarding in my book than helping people recover from a life-threatening disease, when they are at rock bottom, and help to raise them up. It's amazing. And at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you really have a sense of satisfaction. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad person if you don't want to work with people with chronic diseases. It's just, for those of you where that kind of holds a special place in your heart, I know you know what I'm talking about. So just moving on this list: increased energy, increased satisfaction with life. And then this is a biggie, because we know that exercise can help to prevent heart disease, but in this case, it could be from damage from chemotherapy or radiation, osteoporosis, diabetes, and future cancers. And all of these are potential side effects of cancer treatment. So that means a proper exercise program that takes into consideration strengthening the heart and lungs, weight-bearing exercise, and proper diet. And it's a special equation for each person, because it's not just everybody does an hour, and it's 10 minutes of this and 10 minutes of that and 10 minutes of this. It depends on the individual. So let's just talk about children real quick. Speaking in the United States, we know that we have a huge rate of obesity. I think it's like 60%. It's really scary. And only 1 in 3 children are physically active every day. Why do you think that is? They're sitting on their phones, or they're at the computers, or they're playing Xbox or whatever. And this is also affecting their posture and their joints. And I think we have yet to see, because cell phones haven't been around that long, as far as like our children's generation, what it's going to do to them in the future. And less than 5% of adults participate in 30 minutes of physical activity each day. And 1 in 3 receive the recommended amount each week. So that's pretty low. Only 35 to 44% of adults 75 years or older are physically active. And it makes a difference anywhere in our lifetime. But as people age, it is so critical for quality of life to be able to have mobility and ambulation, and once again, do the things you love. I don't want to say wait your whole life, because hopefully we're living our lives, but in anticipation of retirement and being able to travel or play with your grandkids. And what happens when you can't? So we can help give that back to people. Even looking at 28 to 34% of adults 65 to 74 are physically active. And right now this group would be the baby boomers. So more than 80% of adults do not meet the guidelines for aerobic muscle strengthening, and 80% of adults do not get enough aerobic physical activity to meet the guidelines for use. So that's pretty, it's not startling. I think it's not surprising at all, but it's very, very unfortunate, especially when we know that exercise is medicine. I'll do a little dance, try and keep this interesting. It really is, guys. As cliche as it sounds, doctors are writing prescriptions all day long for antidepressants and for pain meds, when exercise, when done properly, can reduce all of those things. It can reduce the need for antidepressants, for pain medicine, for sleep medicine, all of those things. And we won't even get into the whole thing about pharmaceutical industry, because actually that might not be a bad thing. I'd probably get you guys talking. So how can physical activity be linked to reduced risks of cancer? I mean, what is the correlation? First off, it can affect hormone levels. So by lowering insulin and estrogen and various growth factors that are associated with the development and progression of cancer, we may be able to minimize the risk. And particularly there's been a number of studies with breast and colon cancer, and helping to prevent obesity, decreasing the harmful effects of obesity, especially insulin resistance. And, when you think about growth factors also, cancer cells, just like healthy cells, are going to grow in the presence of human growth hormone. So it's really important to have a general understanding of how our hormones affect not only, day to day and our weight and our moods and all of those things, but also how they can be linked to chronic disease. Now, one of the things that just goes hand in hand with disease is inflammation, and it puts the body at dis-ease. So eating a diet that will, say taking out gluten, taking out dairy, anything that's going to cause inflammation, is also going to improve immune system function. Now, it's so hard to believe that it's been a year since, the pandemic started. And a lot of this can be carried over and should be carried over to COVID, because I think that for the people who were unaware of how important their immune system was in fighting disease, I mean, it is ever present right now in the news constantly. So now is a really great time to, I'm going to use the word take advantage of, but I don't mean that in the true sense of the word, but just to use this as an opportunity to say, hey, folks, this is a wake-up call. Let's get healthy. Let's do this together. And unlike 30 years ago, when I was a new personal trainer, almost 30 years ago, we didn't have social media. I mean, I had to literally send letters, just learned how to use a computer. I don't think I had a cell phone yet. So we have so many things at our disposal that can make marketing and growing our business much easier. Also, just to finish this off, exercise can help with altering the metabolism of bile acids. And what happens there is it reduces the amount of time that potential carcinogens are in contact with the mucosal lining of the stomach. So essentially, it can also help move things through the digestive system and make you poop so that garbage is not sitting there, potentially leading to problems. We know that whatever somebody's lifestyle is ultimately going to lead to the outcome of their life, their longevity, their quality of life. And one of the big issues, but understandable, is that 50% of doctors don't have any idea how to prescribe specific exercises for recovery. That's out of their wheelhouse, unless they're an orthopedic specialist or a doctor of physical therapy. But in general, doctors are curing the disease or keeping us healthy. It's not their job to teach exercise. So this creates a huge opportunity for those of you that would like to position yourself as the next step in the healthcare continuum. I'm going to do my little elementary school hand diagram. So you've got patients right here, and they're coming out of the medical system, whether it be for cancer or diabetes or cirrhosis or whatever. And they're standing here right on the edge. And over here is the rest of their life or normalcy. And there's this big gap. So they end up falling into this moat and they don't know how to get out. But we can give them that lifeline or that bridge to get them to the other side and take control of their lives. And that literally gives me chills because, you know, I think about all the people that I've worked with through the years and how it's had such a profound effect on their life, not only their lifestyle, their quality of life, but their longevity. And that's just such an amazing thing. And keep in mind also that the people, you know, our younger clients are going to age. I know we never think it's going to happen. And then one day you look in the mirror and you have crow's feet and wrinkles and you're like, what the heck? So we can try and educate them, but if they're anything like I was, they're not going to want to listen. But when you're looking at people maybe in their late 40s, their late 30s, pardon me, 40s, 50s, and then into the 60s and 70s, this is the demographic that has the time, the need, the money, and the desire. You know, if you keep marketing to 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, I mean, yeah, if you want to build six packs and bulging muscles and excuse me, and bikini competitions and that type of thing, that's great. And there's definitely a need for that. But if you really want to increase your business, you want to get into the aging population and those with disease or, you know, the propensity for it. So let's just talk about specific areas of fitness and how exercise makes a difference. And for most of you, this may be just, you could do this in your sleep, and others, maybe this is an eye opener, but flexibility is key. After surgery and radiation, there can be scar tissue or adhesions that it can even cause ischemia or lack of blood flow to the area, which leads to pain. So if we understand which muscles are shortened and spastic, and then perhaps the opposing muscles that are overstretched and weaker, we create an exercise program accordingly versus shortening the already shortened muscles even more and ignoring the muscles that are weak and overstretched. You really have to understand that concept. And this is going to help people perform their activities of daily living. And, you know, I've talked about sport and athletics and that type of thing, but what about reaching into a cabinet? What about scratching your back? I've been like a dog against a tree for the last couple months because I can't, my range of motion is so bad, and I'm, you know, rubbing up against countertops or trees or whatever I can come upon. And these are things that we take for granted, you know, big deal. You know, I get a back itch. Yeah, until you can't reach it. And then you realize how important range of motion is. Or if you're working with an athlete and they need, you know, they're a basketball player or a tennis player, think about the pattern of movement that they need for that sport and how identifying which muscles are restricted or shortened or tightened or weakened, you know, and choosing the appropriate exercise. Think about how that can improve their game. And, you know, if you're working with athletes, what better way to get more clients than to make such dramatic improvements with the ones that you already have? It's also going to help open up lymphatic pathways and improve lymphatic drainage, which can help to prevent lymphedema or manage it if someone already has it, decreasing the pain, whether it be from ischemia, the lack of blood flow, or any other thing, and improved posture. No matter who you are, you're like this at some point during the day, looking down at your phone or this with your computer, and that is affecting our cervical spine, our lumbar spine, our thoracic spine, really everything. And everything is connected throughout the kinetic chain. So if one part of our body is out of alignment, inevitably our body compensates so that it can become a chain reaction, and that neck pain may lead to knee pain or ankle pain or whatever. But you need to understand when you are working with people who are, you know, going through cancer treatment or they're, you know, older adults, when is it appropriate? Because flexibility may not be appropriate, or, you know, there could be different levels of a flexibility that are appropriate for that person. And there are certainly times when it is too much. So understanding the limiting factors, whether it be pain or in some cases fear. Maybe somebody's gone to physical therapy already and it was very painful and they, they're guarded. They're afraid to move. They don't want to hurt anymore. So yoga, of course, is phenomenal for the mind and the body relaxation, stress management, decreased depression, reduces anxiety, can also decrease pain, improve performance on many different levels and burn calories. Obviously, power yoga is going to burn more calories than restorative yoga. Restorative yogurt would be good too. But you still need to know when it's appropriate because it's, or the types of yoga that are appropriate, power flow, or even certain yoga moves like a downward dog after a mastectomy, hot yoga, no good while people are in cancer treatment. So understanding all of the idiosyncrasies and knowing how to make modifications. And the special offer at the end of my presentation that will include the brand new yoga CES, Cancer Exercise Specialist Handbook, which shows you modifications for many different yoga poses and which poses should be done to increase range of motion or correct muscle imbalances for many different situations. So it's a great thing to add to your arsenal, even if you're not a yoga instructor. Swimming is wonderful. It's going to help increase range of motion. Once again, it could be from surgery, from radiation. Maybe there's an orthopedic injury. It's also great for arthritis when it's done in warm water, and the hydrostatic pressure of the water can help prevent or minimize lymphedema. It's going to keep people cool during their workout. A lot of women are thrown into menopause. They're having hot flashes. So that's appealing. And it's also going to strengthen their heart, increase their strength, and burn calories. But you also have to understand when it is appropriate, and that if someone is immunocompromised, they should not be in a public swimming pool, a lake, a river, the ocean, because they are susceptible to infection. And if they have skin irritation, let's say from radiation, maybe they have a burn or a blister, that is also not a great time, at least if they're in a chlorinated water, that's an absolute no. Or somebody may have a port or a PICC line, or any type of stoma where they actually have a hole, an opening in their body, they cannot get water in that area. So you must understand these things. Cardio is going to help decrease fatigue and increase energy, also strengthening heart and lungs. So we know that it's obvious that we all need to do cardio, but especially for people who've undergone radiation or chemotherapy that's weakened their heart and lungs, this becomes really critical. And sometimes if we only have 20 or 30 minutes with somebody, you're going to have to decide, what amount of time goes to strength training, what amount goes to cardiovascular, what amount goes to flexibility. And that it's going to vary from day to day, week to week, month to month. So that goes into kind of when is it appropriate, when is it too much, and what about the risk of falling? If someone has peripheral neuropathy in their feet and they have burning, tingling, numbness, pain, we don't want to put them on a treadmill. We don't want them on a BOSU balance trainer. We don't want them on anything that's going to run the risk of them losing their balance and falling. And especially when they are also at risk for osteoporosis or have osteoporosis, because they're going to have a higher likelihood of a fracture and a serious injury. Strength training is going to help increase bone density. And so for those clients who are at a higher risk of osteoporosis, and chemotherapy and corticosteroids can increase the risk of osteoporosis as well as aging. So strength training, of course, is going to help to increase bone density and improve that body composition. More lean muscle, less body fat. It's going to burn calories. More lean muscles can raise their basal metabolic rate, how many calories they burn a day, and that's often lower during cancer treatment. So people need to exercise more, but unfortunately, they're working at, they're like the little engine that could just kind of chugging along trying to get through each day. Strength training is also going to help improve self-confidence, strength, and help people with activities of daily living. Even grip strength, having somebody squeeze a ball or a dynamometer or something that's going to help with opening up prescription bottles or anything else that requires, hand and wrist movements. But you also have to know how to incorporate it, how to slowly and gradually add resistance or strength or weight bearing, whether it be bands or dumbbells, barbells, even holding a yoga pose and doing isometric strength training. Because if we do not work on range of motion first and help people to get their range of motion back, you're potentially limiting their outcome, because they're going to get stronger in this shortened or limited plane of motion, and they're not going to get their range of motion back. The other thing is, if somebody's at risk for lymphedema, you don't want to wrap a band around that part of their body. So where are they at risk? And, don't like, if somebody's at risk for breast cancer in this arm, you don't want them wrapping a band around their hand. Or if they're at risk for lower extremity lymphedema, you don't want a band around their thighs. And then if they have peripheral neuropathy, be very careful with dumbbells or bands, because if they have that burning, tingling, numbness, or pain in their hands, they may let go of the band or drop the weight, and either you or they will end up getting hurt. Balance and core. It's going to help people reduce their risk for falling. So the combination of increasing bone density and working on their balance and their core, we're really statistically reducing the risk of injury. Also reducing back pain, and so many people are afflicted with back pain regardless of age or disease. Notice that these all end in increased strength and improved ability to perform activities of daily living. So that goes across the board. But even with balancing and core, you have to take into consideration the risk versus the benefits. And especially if they have peripheral neuropathy and they have a difficult time with, sensation and feeling the ground underneath them. So does anybody have an idea why mainstream exercise programming fails when it comes to cancer patients? And I'm throwing in there even older adults. Why does mainstream exercise fail? And I'm going to move on while you guys think about that, and we'll come back to it. Actually, we won't come back to it, because here's the slide with the answers. I wasn't expecting that right away. All right, we'll go through this together. So it doesn't take into account all of these acute and chronic side effects of treatment. And I'm not even going to read through the bullet points because we've already talked about them all. But most mainstream exercise, you're going to go in, you're going to do a circuit, you're going to join a group exercise class, whatever the case is, they're, even CrossFit or yoga, they're not looking at each of these individual issues. And this really puts the personal back into personal training. And if you have clients that are going through treatment, you have to understand the treatment cycle, because they may go to treatment on Monday, let's say chemo, and then Tuesday they feel great, Monday they feel pretty good, Wednesday and Thursday they hit the wall, they bonk, and then Friday they start to feel better, Saturday they feel great. So as you start to see this cycle, you can plan their exercise accordingly. You have to understand their previous level of fitness. There's no getting around that. Obviously, age plays into it as well. You must do an assessment, a comprehensive postural assessment, movement analysis, range of motion assessment, put all of this information together, as well as, if they had surgery, when did they have it? How long has it been since they had their procedure? Because there are certain limitations within the first 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, depending on the type of surgery. What is the direction of the incision? If it's a big vertical incision, they may be drawn forward. Everything may be shortening. If it's a horizontal incision, maybe we're seeing medial or lateral rotation of the hips, obviously, depending on where the incision is. But all of these things can affect their movement and alter their, what we'll call normal, healthy posture. Did they have an amputation? Are they having to learn how to walk with a prosthetic device? Or do they have a prosthesis on their arm? Do they have to learn how to do things again? Are we starting from scratch? Did they take a muscle flap from another part of the body to fill in the gap where the surgery was, or the part of the body was amputated? And what muscle was it? And how is that creating an imbalance? because if they take my rectus abdominis muscle to make a breast, or they take my sternocleidoid mastoid out during a radical neck dissection, how is that going to affect my ability to perform different exercises? And if you don't understand that, you cannot safely and effectively prescribe exercise to these populations. Really important to understand when they underwent treatment, whether it was radiation, chemotherapy, hormonal therapy, which oftentimes is ongoing for many years, and the acute and chronic side effects of each of those. And you're going to have like 2 pages of notes before you can even put together the exercise program. Do they have a port where they receive chemotherapy or they get blood draws or injections? Where is it? Is it under the skin or is it external? Because if it's external, they can't go in the water, and they're going to need to have like a wrap around it so it doesn't get dislodged, and you shouldn't use that part of the body in certain ways during exercise. Must understand these things. And then, of course, all of the comorbidities that go along with things. So when you're looking at the safety and the efficacy of any given workout, ask yourself, what is the purpose? Why are we doing this? I mean, why is somebody doing tricep press downs versus, let's say, you can't see it, but dips? Because dips make sense, and I'm just randomly picking something because people may have to push themselves out of a chair. So yes, tricep press downs are going to also strengthen the same muscles, but functionally, it's not as good of an exercise. So think about, what is the purpose for your exercises? What's the risk versus the reward? Is it worth taking this risk to get such and such potential reward? And then look at the specificity and try and really hone in on what that person needs. And when you're working with older adults or people going through cancer treatment or in recovery from cancer, you're probably only going to be doing 30-minute workouts. So now you've got to, think about what you're going to cram into that 30-minute session. And like I said, it can change from day to day, week to week, month to month. So we're looking at the relevance and whether it's appropriate for that person. Now, adding insult to injury, the pandemic has caused cancer patients and seniors to feel more alone than ever. So now, of course, that we're getting the vaccines, hopefully they can start getting back to the life that they knew. But for the last year, we've had people that have been afraid, they're isolated, they're lonely, and that, of course, leads to depression. They're not getting out and moving, so they're probably not as healthy as they were. And many people are probably soothing themselves with maybe not so healthy food. Oops. So you have an opportunity to create somewhat of a concierge fitness program, if you will. Not only can you provide daily exercise routines, but you can help people with meal planning. Now, this is not to replace, working with working with a dietitian or nutritionist who specializes in say, oncology. But they can tell them what types of food they should or shouldn't eat. You can help them to plan their meals. You can even help them with grocery shopping. I mean, my mom, my 82-year-old mom, has to call me to order groceries and have them delivered for her. So these are all things, instead of charging hour by hour, you might have a monthly fee that includes any number of these, or maybe you have different fees based on this a la carte menu, if you will. Help people with recipes based on what they should or should not be eating. Maybe it includes a breathing and relaxation session a couple times a week, taking people through deep breathing exercises. Could be just motivation and getting them up and moving and, being that cheerleader, and just overall inspiring that person to be healthier. So hopefully this kind of gets your creative juices going, and you can start to think about, wow, how can I change what I'm doing? How can I reinvent the wheel? How do I train virtually now that my health club is closed or I've had to close my studio? We have just released the 2021 13th edition, and I just wanted to share with you all of the new things in our coursework. Now, we have 4 full color handbooks that are about 500 pages of content. And we also have, as I mentioned, the brand new yoga handbook, all of the 2020 updates. I literally just finished this February 1st on the current treatments, surgical procedures, global statistics. We have a mentorship program that will not only help you get through your studies, but also help you build your business afterwards. This is so much more than a piece of paper. our goal, my goal, is really to help you launch your career, because if people can't find you, they are not going to get help. They're not going to get the help they need. So once you get your certification, we also list you on our international directory. We've added all of these new sections to the handbook, and there are 39 practice quizzes, which is like, you probably like, I don't want to take quizzes. They're not graded. They're to help you assess your understanding of each section. And then we have a 125 question open book exam at the end of module 4 that you have to get 80% or better. You get 2 tries on it. It is a very difficult test. So just because it's open book, I mean, we have to have a high expectation for anybody working with cancer patients, aging adults, anybody who is compromised or has comorbidities. And so I am proud to say that I feel that we truly are providing you with the best, the most updated, the most comprehensive content anywhere in the world. And for anyone who wants to get started, we have this program or this offer going through the weekend. You can save 40% on the new self-study program, and also 50%. So honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do the live training. I'm going to be doing live training starting at the end of March, and you're going to get to work with my marketing guru, Greg Henderson. He's also going to be doing 3 webinars. So I think I do 10 hours of live training and he does 3. And then you also get a half-hour private consultation with him to help you launch your business. So rather than give you coupon codes and all that, much easier if you just email me at andrea@thecancerspecialist.com. Anytime today, tomorrow, this goes through midnight tomorrow, and I will give you the coupon code. I'll give you the link so you can get registered. And you can get this done. You have 180 days to complete the course. You can do it sooner, or some people will really sit there all weekend long and can manage to get through this. You're not going to be an expert overnight, but we have to have different expectations. So the first one is you pass the exam, then we help. And through our private Facebook group, you have a team, you have a network of doctors, nurses, physical and occupational therapists, and other personal trainers and Pilates and yoga around the world that can help you with, hey, you have a new client, you don't know what to do, or you have a question. There's always somebody that's there for you. It's really amazing. Also, you're going to get the new yoga handbook download for free when you register. So I am here now to answer any questions if you have them. If not, that's okay. I'm looking here. Rosemary, I don't know if you want me to say any of these things out loud. So I want to respect your privacy. And then Michael is asking, what base credentials would someone need to add this specialty to? Would it work for a health and wellness coach certification? Absolutely. Anybody who has a background in health, fitness, nutrition, medicine, massage therapy, any of kind of the allied health and fitness professionals, there is a lot about anatomy and physiology, and we do have quite a comprehensive review in, I think it's module 3. So worst case scenario is if you need to brush up more, you're going to spend more time studying that content. But the beauty of both our examination and real life is that we can always go back to the book. And that's why we do an open book test, because I want to teach you how to understand, the questions to ask, how to access the information when putting together a program. And I want you to be able to figure it out on your own, not just by memorization. I mean, memorization's hokey, because if you can memorize a definition, but if you don't understand how to implement it, I don't find that to be terribly effective. So I hope that answers your question, Michael. And the live training, we of course get great accolades from that, because people get to interact with me, with Greg. You get to have your questions answered right then and there, and you work with the rest of the people in the group. But the home study is definitely set up for your success as well. And the way the modules are set up, step by step, everything's broken down, and your understanding of each section is assessed through these little quizzes. So you can't go wrong with either option. Let's see. Rosemary, it's fine. Can we purchase the book ahead? I would love to take my time and then take the course. You can purchase the handbooks, Rosemary. If you also will email me at andrea@thecancerspecialist.com, I can send you the link for the handbooks, or you can go directly to ceti.teachable.com and you will see the handbooks listed there and you can purchase them there. Carrie says she's a group fitness instructor and interested in starting group classes for cancer patients. But after hearing about all the specific and individual needs, issues of people dealing with cancer, is that a realistic idea? Carrie, it absolutely is. And I'm glad that you're, taking a pause because that shows that you understand everything that I've said. When I teach this course, whether it be through self-study or live, the whole idea is that anybody, whether it's yoga, Pilates, Zumba, aquatics, personal training, can take their modality and be able to adapt it to the people in their class. Now, what I will talk about throughout the coursework is, okay, if you're a group exercise instructor, what's the safest and most effective way to do that? And when I say group exercise, that does include yoga, Pilates, Zumba, you name it, and teach you how to implement it, how to get people assessed before they come into a class, how to get groups of, like people in that class, keeping the numbers relatively small so that you are able to notice so-and-so is having an issue and be able to take the time to deal with that. There are ways to do it very effectively. We also even have our breast cancer recovery BOSU specialist course, which we use the BOSU entirely. That's it. That's the only modality. So you can create a course using just the BOSU. You do a group exercise course using that. So hopefully that helps, Carrie, and gives you the confidence that there is a way to do this, and not everyone can afford a personal trainer. So we need group exercise instructors that want to embrace this. All different levels, like I said, whether it just be aging adults or those with chronic disease, i.e. cancer, the opportunities there as the gyms start to open up again. There's always that downtime, from like 10 to 2 or 3. And the baby boomers, the seniors, they have the time, the money, the need, the desire. You can fill that time with people who will really appreciate the services that you offer. So if you have any more questions, oh, here we go. No. Oh, you're welcome, Carrie. Anybody else have any questions before we say goodbye and I let you get on with your weekend? You can also send them to me, once again, Andrea@thecancerspecialist.com. Happy to take the time to answer your questions, and we will send out the recording for this webinar as well. I truly appreciate your interest in the subject matter and taking the time out of your Saturday morning or afternoon, or maybe some of you are in different parts of the world and it is yesterday or tomorrow. I don't know how that works. Let's see. Rosemary, teach and certified in 10 areas, love to incorporate cancer specifics. Absolutely. It sounds like you would be such a compliment to the profession, Rosemary. Happy to help however I can. And hope to see some of you guys in the live training or registered for the home study. 50% off, 40% off. Take advantage of it till Sunday night, 11:59 Pacific time. And I'll look forward to receiving any questions from you. Have an amazing weekend, and thank you for your time.